Pissed beyond belief. Great. Okay. What?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I'm used to,
Yeah.
I'm used to playing before a big audience. This is hot.
Yeah. Well, wait till you read the letter from John. It really does. Okay. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce the members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to the board. To his left is Peter Hunt, a senior planner in the planning department. To his left is Tom O'Brien, a planner in the planning department. To his left is John Bongino, town building director. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve, so that those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give Board of Appeals additional powers, such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals, etc. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variances deal with dimensions, such as lot area, frontage, height, setback, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're posted here for you. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance it shall deem necessary and adequate, and at the same time preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions for granting variances. Special exception variants are different than area variances. When you have a special exception application before us, I will explain the different criteria. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits, and mailing receipts to Mr. O'Brien. And then you will be sworn in at the podium and given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please organize your thoughts. Keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. And number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. We do have some adjournments, so let me just tell you what they are. Case 16725, Lawrence and Denise Henderson. 101 Candor Court, Smithtown. Was anybody interested in that case? Henderson? Okay. That's been adjourned to July 24th. The other case is case 16531, DLJ Ventures. This is the Kings Park Garden Center on Main Street in Kings Park. Is there anyone that was interested in that case? They have withdrawn. All right, let's go back to the first case, please. Case 16724, Jill Mata, 40 East Hill Drive, Smithtown. Location, south side of East Hill Drive, east of Penn Drive, Smithtown, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 2 for an existing 96 square foot shed. May I have your name and address, please?
Jill Mata, 40 East Hill Drive, Smithtown, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here?
Yes, to request a variance for my shed to reduce the footage from 6 feet to 2 feet and 3 feet in the back.
How tall is your shed?
8 feet, approximately.
Approximately 8 feet. Planning, is there anything?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No question.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next case, case 16725, was adjourned to July 24th. The next case is case 16726, Deborah and Anthony Lanchfranci. It's 15 Dorothy Street. That's the location, Nesconset. So location is east side of Dorothy Street, north of Smithtown Boulevard, Nesconset. Property zone R15 and NB. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 45 feet to 25 for proposed one-floor dwelling. Reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 60 feet to 19 for a proposed covered patio. Increase the max paving in side yard from 25% to 70%.
Donald King, 75 East Main Street, Kings Park, New York, attorney for the applicant. The LaFranchis would like to build a house. Mike Bellis, who's a very good builder, is here. He's going to build it for them. They're selling their other home. It's on one floor because they have a handicapped child, and I'm going to present a letter. Mr. LaFranchi's father, who's 91, there's a letter from a doctor as to his condition, and they have 2 other children in addition to the one handicapped child, plus Mr. LaFranchi's father.
What is the square footage? Oh, wait, I'll let Dee get back. You want to see this?
Square footage of the house is 2,172 square feet. The garage is 656 square feet. The covered patio is 280 square feet. The attic space, that stupid requirement that we have to count attic space over 5'10" because monkeys may be living up there, is 1,100. And I understand that there's a possibility that could go by the wayside if the ordinance is adopted. But if you want the whole total, it's 4,208. But if you take the 1,100 out for the attic space, it reduces it by 1,100 square feet, which is reasonable. With respect to the 70% on the driveway, it's a 3-car garage on the side of the house, if you look at the survey. And I don't think it's overdone. It sounds like it's a lot, but if you view the survey, I don't think it is, because they have 4 cars. You know, with the turnaround, it brings it by, you fill up the side yard to get in and out. With respect to the rear yard, the property directly behind the house, if you look at the survey, you'll note that one of the buildings is 12 feet off the property line of the neighbor, and another building is 18 feet off the property line. Mike Bellis builds a beautiful home. It will not produce a change in the character of the neighborhood, will be a detriment to nearby properties. We can't achieve the benefit without making an application for the front rear yard and the macadamized portion, which I understand that may be changed someday. I don't think if you look at the survey that it's substantial. It won't have an adverse effect on the environment, and it's not self-created because we're here to build a new home.
Okay. Are we counting the covered patio in the square footage? That is floor area. Correct. So that 280 square feet should not be counted, am I correct?
I thought if it was covered, it's included. I thought.
It's included in the setback if it's covered, but not in the floor area.
Okay. But it's fine then.
Okay?
Sure.
right.
That reduces it even more if you take the attic out.
Okay.
Then becomes
About 2,800 then.
2172 plus the garage, 656.
Okay. Anything else, planning?
No, we would just like to, review the numbers before the board takes any action, make certain that the patio was or was not included. We don't want to, recommend approval of a lower number and then find out that the patio wasn't included in that.
May I make a suggestion? Just include it then. And if it's not supposed to be, then it isn't. Then we're covering, we won't lose any time. They're anxious to get going if you could do that.
We'll take a look at the file.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Sure.
Why does it, I don't think they were seeking a variance for FAR.
We're not. We're
You're not.
24%.
So why does it matter?
24% counting
Doesn't.
the attic, counting everything. So we don't, it's not really relevant, I don't think.
I don't think it's relevant.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Very moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16727, Kevin Sullivan, 7 Dolly Drive, Comac, location, east side of Dolly Drive, south of Betty Lane, Comac Property Zone R10. Request variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 50 feet to 46 for an existing porch converted to living space, 408 square feet. Reduce the side yard setback from 12 feet to 11 for an existing 70 square foot garage addition. Increase the max paving in the front yard from 25% to 30 existing. Increase the max paving in the side yard from 25% to 70% existing. Reduce the side yard setback for paving from 1 foot to 0.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. Douglas J. Hines, Design Development Group, Stony Brook, New York. Pleasure to be before you this evening on behalf of Kevin Sullivan. Madam Chairwoman, we've submitted a power of attorney to counsel for the board late this afternoon. Mr. Blumberg, who works for Blumberg Financial, excuse me, Mr. Sullivan, he wishes he was Mr. Blumberg, works for Blumberg Financial, some sort of a crisis somewhere in the world, and he was unable to be here tonight and extends his apology. His request this evening is for a side yard variance for a modest rear extension to an existing garage, 12 feet required, 11.2 feet provided. The original garage was built at the 11.2. They continued the line without realizing that it was 0.8 feet too close to their neighbor. The rear yard variance is similarly a request for a 10% reduction in the requirement, 50 feet required, 46 provided. And in that case, the existing porch, which was covered by a certificate of occupancy, was enclosed. Lastly, we are requesting an increase in the coverage of the front and side yard paving. The house does have a one-car garage, but not a lot of room for off-street parking or maneuvering automobiles, and so the paving was extended along the rather modest and diminished side yard to begin with. We do not believe that these are substantial encroachments or requests, no environmental impacts, of course. Little alternative with respect to the extension of the garage, since it was located on that side of the property. The enclosure of the porch is self-explanatory. And although self-created by Mr. Sullivan's dad, who is now deceased, we would respectfully submit that that alone should not be reason enough to deny the variance. And that is our respectful request for those 3 variances.
Planning? Gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Regularly moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16728, Kathy Morellis, 19 Pineland Street. Location: east side of Pineland Street, north of Magnolia Avenue. Nisconset, property zone R10. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 25 feet to 10 for proposed 147 square foot covered porch. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 5 for proposed 130 square foot deck. May I have your name, please?
Kathy Morales,
And your address, Kathy.
19 Pineland Street.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Okay. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
May
evening.
I have your name and will you spell your last name?
Sure. My name is Joe Yacobellis. It's Yacobellis, and I'm here representing Mancini Architecture.
Okay, your
Wow.
address?
The address of our company or my personal address?
Your address of this company is fine.
222 Middle Country Road, suite number 226, Smithtown, New York, 11787.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
As you said, we're asking for 2 setback variances here, one in the front yard and one in the side yard. A quick history on this house: it's quite old. It was built back in the 30s, and as far as we can tell, it was originally built as a bungalow or a vacation home of some sort, where it was used as a part-time residence. At the point when the zoning regulations were put into place, it immediately became a non-conforming structure because it predated all the zoning regulations. So as it stands now, it's not in conformance with any of the setback regulations and so on. Mrs. Morales lives in the home now, and she's a full-time resident. Obviously, it's no longer used as a part-time home, but it's still quite small. And her desire was to increase the living area slightly by putting on this front yard porch and a rear yard deck. What kind of spurred that was that back in November there was a fire in the home, and unfortunately she was displaced for a while and had to go through quite a lot to repair the home and bring it back to a livable condition. So now that she's done all that, she's repaired the home, she's back in it, and she's hoping to do this one slight modification to add the porch and the deck, really to take advantage of what's a small home and to take advantage of the site as best she can. Like we said, being it's a non-conforming site, anything that we add is going to be within that same non-conformance, but what we've done here is tried our best to keep the new structure to be as limited of a proposal as possible. And so you'll see where we're asking to put on the front porch to reduce the setback from 25 to 10 feet. The existing house is offset 14.5 feet. The existing garage is actually offset 5.8 feet from that front yard. So we tried hard to make sure that the front deck wouldn't encroach further than the existing garage does, to not worsen the condition in any way. So the proposal there is to keep that front yard setback at 10 feet. There's a similar situation with the side yard deck. In order to make the deck work to be an effective and an efficient structure, we wanted to put it in that rear corner of the house, as you'll see. And in order to build it in line with the existing structure, you'll see how the house is kind of not oriented properly with the property line. So it tapers in towards the property line as it moves back. So as we placed that deck, it ended up encroaching, I believe, 0.6 feet further into the setback than the existing house already does. So we propose this as is drawn here. We believe both are reasonable, a reasonable amount to ask for a variance, especially considering the size of the home and the undersized home for this lot to take advantage of the living area. There will be no undesirable change because it'll be consistent with the nature of the neighborhood. It'll be a nice new porch. It'll be built, very well. It'll be beautiful. It'll increase the state of the surrounding areas. We don't really see any other opportunity here to not create a nonconformance, being the existing house is, as we stated, nonconforming. We don't find it to be substantial, again, because we're trying our best to keep within the worst case of the existing nonconformance, which is, again, that 5.8 feet of the garage. And it certainly won't have any adverse effect on the physical environment or the neighborhood. And like I stated first, it wasn't self-created. The house is pre-existing when the zoning conditions were put in place.
Thank you.
So,
Planning? Gentlemen? Thank you so much.
we thank you for the consideration.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. May I have your name and address, please?
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the board. My name is Pete Vandelask. I live at 49 Pineland Street, Nesconset, New York.
All right, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And spell your last name?
Capital V-A-N, capital D-E-R-L-A-S-K-E.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If I may, Pineland Street is a quiet, tree-lined street that's situated between Eklund Boulevard and the Comandinga Preserve property, consisting mostly of adult residences. There are approximately only 4 houses on the block that have children. With the exception of 2 to 3 neighbors, the properties are well-maintained, neat, and clean. All the houses are spot built and different, and each house adds a distinctive character to the neighborhood. The neighborhood has been relatively stable over the years with few turnaround sales. Suffolk County tax maps indicate that, this street to be a 50-foot right-of-way, and it's paved 25-foot curb to curb. My residence was constructed in 1937, but most of the growth began approximately in 1960 with the construction of small ranches on Edgewood Avenue. I reside 7 houses from the Morales property. Just to note that there are no existing sidewalks, nor as I understand, plans by the town to install same. Pineland Street is scheduled and on the Highway Department's list to be repaved sometime this summer. Last year, the residence was condemned due to a structural fire, which caused extreme hardship to the Morales family. The family could simply have walked away from the problem, sold the property to a developer, and said goodbye. Instead, the owner decided to keep the property as is and refurbish the structure within the building's existing footprint. During the time the building was unoccupied, I was extremely concerned as the vacant building served as an attractive nuisance for various reasons. However, the construction proceeded quickly and in a timely manner. The refurbishing of this residence presents a neat, clean appearance and maintains the existing character of the neighborhood. Proposed porches will, in my opinion, not impact on any of the neighbors or environment, but will add to the charm of the neighborhood. The refurbishing is such that it may actually increase the surrounding property values. The hardship that I see that will be imposed will be the hardship to Mrs. Morales in not being able to easily exit the residence, and the enjoyment of planting and maintaining flowers on the decks, and the enjoyment of sitting on the front porch in the open air, being able to enjoy conversations with passing neighbors and family. Since there are no sidewalks to consider, decreasing the front yard to 10 feet from 25 feet will not impact on any street/sidewalk right-of-way. This approximates 10 feet from the edge of the proposed porch to the existing westerly property line. This leaves approximately 10 to 13 feet from the existing property line to the existing curb. In all, approximately, there will exist 22 feet of grass area will exist from the edge of the proposed front porch to the existing curb. If the town of Smithtown decides to install sidewalks in the future along Pineland Street, in my opinion, there will be enough space to do that. Decreasing the side yard to 5 feet from 12 feet should not be a concern, as the bump out, as per the history contained in file, is predated and should not be an issue. The view to the proposed rear deck will be concealed via an existing detached two-car garage to the north of the property, now formerly Dennis. This is a brick facade structure, and I'm sure it is not intended to be demolished anytime in the near future. Approximately 55 feet exists from the edge of the proposed rear deck, 130-foot square foot rear deck, to the easterly property line. Knowing the neighbors, I anticipate no noise or lighting in any manner on each one of the proposed decks to annoy any of the neighbors. In short, I am in favor of the proposed variances, and I hope the board looks favorably on granting the variance that were requested, and I thank you for your time in hearing my comments. And I would like to present a copy of this to the chairperson for inclusion to the file.
You're very welcome. Is there anyone else that'd like to be heard on this application?
Again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next case is case 16729, Janine Bishop, 264 Terry Road, Smithtown. Location, west side of Terry Road, south of Gilbert Avenue, Smithtown. Property zone R15. Request variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 45 feet to 34 feet for an existing 82 square foot deck. Right. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the back, right? Okay. That's all right. Okay, let me have your name and address, please.
Janine Bishop, 264 Terry Road, Smithtown.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'll show these pictures and everything, but then you have to label them
Okay.
to be, all right?
Yeah, because I just realized, because I put a deck, the front yard,
All right, wait a
45
minute.
feet to 34.
Let's-
That's what we're trying to do, is cut down the minimum, an existing
Let
deck.
me just swear you in.
Oh,
Raise
okay.
your right hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, did it again?
See, I got
Okay.
real confused.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, go ahead. Just,
I do that to people.
go ahead.
Okay, the square footage from the front yard, 45 to 34 feet. It's an existing deck that I put over a stoop. And it's not cutting into any encroachment, it doesn't affect any of those things. It's the same height as the stoop. It doesn't go past the house on either end, it's level square with the house. And I think the issue was because the house was built in like 1952, that all the houses are not 40, all the houses are 34 feet from the street. So any addition that you added to the house, whether it's butted up against it, you have to get a variance. Because I came close to getting my permit, and she realized that.
Planning? Want to look at these pictures? They're going to look at them, and then
Okay.
what I like you to do is just put your case number
Okay,
and your name
okay,
and when you took the picture.
okay. Well, it says 1985 on one of them, before the siding.
Okay. Just let
So
him
I got
have
it out of my album.
And then he'll put them back in the,
Okay, thank you.
okay. He'll put them back in the folder if you want them in there. Okay? Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. You're welcome. Next case is case 16730, Richard Palmieri, 6 Bizel Lane, Smithtown. Location, west side of Bizel Lane, north of Cedar Ridge Avenue, Smithtown, property zone R15. Request variance to permit environmentally sensitive land, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet to be altered. To reduce the rear yard from 60 feet to 36 for an existing 392 square foot first floor addition. Increase the maximum paving in side yard from 25% to 55% existing. Do we have a power of attorney? Oh, okay. Hello, may I have your name, please?
Yeah, I'm Richard Palmieri,
And your address, Richard?
6 Bezel Lane, Smithtown.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Just let me have your name and again, and you've been sworn in.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. Doug Hines, HYNES, Design Development Group, Stony Brook, New York, on behalf of Richard Palmieri. With respect to the variances to permit environmentally sensitive land to be altered, the test bore that we submitted to the building department reveals that groundwater in that area is at approximately 6 feet. That is a typical condition throughout that whole area of Smithtown, as I'm sure the board is aware. The alteration was done to the house to expand the size of the master bedroom suite. It did not extend the, add to the number of bedrooms. It was approved as a 4-bedroom house originally. It is a 4-bedroom house today under the policies that Smithtown has in place, as well as the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. So we would respectfully submit that there is no undue impact on this environmentally sensitive land. The rear yard setback of 60 feet is not met. We are asking for a variance to permit the alteration to stand at 36 feet for an existing 392 square foot first floor addition. I'd like to hand up for the board's consideration a panel of photographs which express better than words the conditions on the property and some of the reason which we believe justifies our request. There is also a request for a side yard paving variance. And so you'll see on the panel of photographs on page 1 at the bottom that such paving as we have in the side yard in front of the fence is minimal. The fence itself and the rather large arborvitae in that area screen the balance of the side yard from view from the street. On page 2 is a picture of the yard side of that front fence, showing the area of the paving between a breakfast nook and the dining area. Yet another picture of it at the top of page 3, and on the left of the top picture you can see the addition, and in the distance to the right you can see rather substantial screening between our neighbor and our property, which screens both the view of the side yard paving as well as the addition. At the bottom of page 3 is a photograph of the neighbor to the south, substantially screened with arborvitae. In the rear, we come up against the green belt, and so even when this picture was taken in the early spring, there is substantial natural growth screening from view our property from neighbors to the west. Second picture of that at the bottom of page 4. At the top of page 5, a photograph of our neighbor to the north, also exhibiting substantial screening between his property and ours. And finally, at the bottom of page 5, an aerial photograph that shows the location of our property, the distance to neighboring properties, particularly to the left of that picture, which would be to the west, rather distant from us. And lastly, on page 6 from the Suffolk IMAP, another picture of our property and showing the separation from most of our neighbors, except for the neighbor to the south. I'd like to hand up for the board's consideration a document, a drawing called a plot plan, but actually it's a plan of the area showing the actual distances from our property to the others. It is not quite to scale as the Sharp-eyed people in the planning division picked up when I attempted to submit it as part of our submission. However, it does give the accurate foot distance, and for that reason, I'd like to submit it.
Sure.
Lastly, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, unsolicited, we received letters of consent from our neighbor to the south and our neighbor to the west. I thought I was seeing things because both families are named Riley. It turns out they are parent and child. And without having been asked for these letters of consent, we received them from the neighbors, and we're happy to submit those.
We have them in the file already.
Very good.
Thank you.
We would respectfully submit that there is no adverse environmental impact as a result of either the paving, which is pavers that allow the water to repercolate, nor to the rear addition. And although the hardships are self-created, we would respectfully request that that alone should not be a reason for denying this request for variance. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning? Okay. Gentlemen? Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing now, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's readily moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Just bring 'em up.
Thank
Good night. Next case is case 16731, Vingiello, James Vingiello, 15 Hartsdale Street. Location: south side of Hartsdale Street, west of Glen Ridge Drive South, St. James, property zone R21. Request variance to reduce the rear yard from 60 feet to 39 for an existing 606 square foot covered patio. May I have your name, please?
Deborah Vangello,
And your address, Deborah?
15 Hartsdale Street, St. James.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
Wasn't in the package.
It's not in here.
This is the danger of having 3 hearings in one night. I know I started the night with them. Madam Chairwoman, rather than burden the board with the time, if we could just step aside. I know I had the affidavits when I came here. I must have gotten them confused in one of the other files.
As
So
long as you can give them to me by the end of the meeting.
all right, fine. Thank you.
Is that okay with you?
Is that okay with you?
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, for the applicants, Jim and Deborah Vingello, Doug Hines of Design Development Group, Stony Brook, New York. The Vingellos erected many years ago a porch, unenclosed, unscreened, to the rear of their property with less than the required rear yard setback. As the board can see from the submissions, the porch occupies the space between the rear of the house and a pool which has a certificate of occupancy and does not extend further from the either side of the house, and so does not protrude on either side of the house. We have submitted pictures of the structure. I'd like to hand up for the board's consideration photographs of the conditions obtaining on the three sides of the rear yard, establishing some pretty substantial screening with respect to the two residential neighbors, and of course with a green belt in the back, a rather thick stand of year-round deciduous forest which screens the view of it from neighboring properties. Given the location of the pool and the location of the house, which was built at the extreme of the building envelope, there really was no alternative to creating a covered porch at that location. Needless to say, there's no environmental impact, not a substantial structure, and we would respectfully submit that there is no impact that would warrant this board's determination to deny this variance. The hardship is self-created, and we would respectfully submit that that reason alone should not be grounds for a denial of the variance. We would respectfully request the board's consideration of our request and stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Planning?
No comments, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Ready, moved, and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried. Salvatore and Maria Torquato? 155 Shady Lane, Smithtown. Locations: outside of Shady Lane, west of Brookside Drive, Smithtown. Property zone R21. Request variance, reduce the side yard setback from 16 feet to 8. Reduce the total side yard from 34 to 28. Increase the FAR? Is that FAR? No. From 750 square feet to 828 square feet for proposed attached garage. And your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Sal Torquato. I live at 155 Shady Lane, Smithtown, New York.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
Absolutely. We're looking to get a side yard variance to build an attached garage. We currently have a detached garage, which is built back in the 40s, set kind of behind the home. So we're looking to remove that and actually incorporate it attached to the home, which would cause us to reduce the side yard setback on that side from 16 feet to 8 feet, reducing the overall side yard setbacks for both sides from 34 to 28 feet. I don't feel that this is an undesirable change, as the older garage is aesthetically, we're going to improve it by adding the new garage and keeping it more consistent with the current home with the brick facade. And I don't think that there'll be any issues with the neighbors. It's pretty consistent with the construction that's going on currently and renovations that are done to improve the overall aesthetics of the homes in the neighborhood. As far as another feasible method, that's the only side of the home that we can actually attach a garage. We have much less side yard setback on the right-hand side of the home or the west side. I don't feel that it's substantial due to the fact that within the same neighborhood, there are many homes that have garages closer to the property line than ours. I actually have overview shots, I don't know if you'd like me to leave, of homes within my neighborhood that have aerial shots of homes that have garages on the property line or right near the property line.
But do you know if they have variances for that?
I don't. I'm assuming, but I don't know. So I have that if need be. Whether it'll have any impact on the environment, absolutely not. There shouldn't be any impact on the environment. And as far as the self-created, I'm not really sure what you mean by that.
It means, did you do it without permits?
Oh,
And
new
so- but you haven't
construction, so,
started.
right.
You
new
haven't started, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Tansey, do you have a question?
Just wondering, I noticed the garage is about 28 feet wide.
Yep.
Is it possible to decrease that slightly? Because it would increase that side yard setback, and 28 feet is kind of, is more than enough for a two-car garage. I didn't know if you had some room on that.
I mean, we could. I just, having young kids and knowing that we can't physically fit, we currently have a two-car garage that we can't fit any vehicles in because of, you know, just, you know, everything that you have with yard work and kids' toys. And we're just looking to try to maximize as much space as we can and still fit full-size vehicles in there without negating the fact, you know, you build a garage, I see most people, they build the garage and then they can't use it. It becomes, you see the garage door open, it's filled with debris. So we're just looking to try to get as much storage space as we can, as well as being able to park both vehicles indoors.
I only ask because the concern I have is that it's kind of a standard lot in the middle of the block. It's not like you have a real narrow lot compared to all the other ones. So to grant that side yard setback to something that would be considerably larger than something that would be on one of the other lots kind of sets a precedent. Makes it a little bit difficult. So if you had some room and we could accomplish your objective and still kind of keep that side yard a little bit bigger, it would be, I think, better for everyone concerned.
Do you have an idea of what your...
Even a couple of feet gets it up to a 10-foot side yard setback. It's something that in line with what we've approved before, which really only drops you down to, say, 26 feet, which is still...
Okay.
A standard two-car garage, I think, is 22, so it's still pretty good.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Okay. That also, I'm sorry, that side of the yard, the neighbor on that side, they have about 10 feet of wooded area, so it wouldn't really have any impact on the neighbor because it's wooded. I don't know if I have submitted any pictures showing that, but
We have them.
that it shouldn't have any impact on the neighbor on that side.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No question.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
It's regularly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16733, James and Claire Wasco, 7 Dorchester Court, Smithtown. Location, northwest corner of Cedar Ridge Avenue and Dorchester Court, Smithtown, property zone R15. Request variance to permit environmentally sensitive land to be altered where depth to groundwater is less than 10 feet for a proposed 16 by 34 in-ground pool. And your name, please.
James Wasco,
And your address, James?
7 Dorchester Court, Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Absolutely.
Good evening.
May I have your name, please?
Andreas Sophocles,
Spell your last name.
Sofoklis.
Okay. And your address, Andres?
49 Blossom Avenue, Holtzville, New York, 11742.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening to everybody. So the request is to alter environmentally sensitive lands for a swimming pool. The area is surrounded by swimming pools, and based on that fact, I'd like to directly answer the 5 questions. The variance would not produce an impact on adjacent properties based on the fact that the subject property is in a residential area in which swimming pools are customarily found. The location of the pool is in a fully compliance with all the local zoning laws, and the area is surrounded by pools, most of which we believe, if not all, are lawfully existing. The request we do not believe is substantial, basically for the same reasons. The swimming pool is in a fully conforming location for residential use in an area with many pools where the water table is existing as it is, which is the reason for the variance, because the water table is high. We don't believe the benefit could be achieved by another alternative based on the fact that the water table is the way it is and the property has been developed for decades as it stands. We do not believe it would cause an adverse effect on the environment because the installation of the pool will be done by industry professionals, and they'll be taking extra alternative steps to help the environment. They'll be using a saltwater sanitizer for the pool. They'll be using solar energy to heat the pool, and taking the environment into consideration for the construction of the pool. The final question, the difficulty was not created by the applicant or former owner based on the fact that the water table has existed the way it is and the property has been developed for decades and decades, and they've purchased it that way.
I know you did a test hole. What is the test hole?
It said 4.10 inches. We do have a letter from an engineer. Unfortunately, we don't think we have the correct test hole data to you guys yet in order to complete your SEQA review. We just found that information out Monday, but I do have a letter from the engineer I could submit to you guys if you don't have it.
I did get a secret today.
You did, okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, so I just wanted to know, it was 4 feet 10. Okay,
4 feet 10 inches, it said, yep.
okay. Planning,
Nothing, Madam Chair, that covered it.
gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Everyone have a great night.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Regularly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16734, John Montesano, 231 Old Willis Path, Smithtown. Location, east side of Old Willis Path, north of Creek Road, Smithtown, property zone R43. Request variance to increase the square footage on an existing detached garage from 750 feet to 828 square feet. Reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 6 for an existing 540 square foot detached garage and a 78 square foot shed. And your name, please?
John Montesano,
And your address, John?
231 Old Willets Path, Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You want to tell us why you're here, please?
Yes, I'm requesting a variance for an existing structure that is from 750 square feet to 828 square feet, and to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 to 6 feet for an existing 540 square foot detached garage and a 78 square foot shed. The structures have been there for about 10 years, and they're not even visible from the street. The property's it's a little big for the area, and I need the storage, and I've been using it for storage. So, all my neighbors, they don't mind the buildings. I don't think it has a negative environmental impact.
As you know, we did visit the site.
Yes.
Planning?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on that application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Regularly moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Next case is case 16735, PJ Ventures. Its location is southeast corner of Crooked Hill Road and Henry Street, Comac, property zone SCB. Request variance to reduce the minimum parking from 2,995 spaces to 2,578 spaces. Proposed to 27,022 square feet, second floor addition.
Good evening, board members. My name is John Baker, 15 Wyandanche Boulevard, here for an application for PJ Venture.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The application is for the addition.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. You need the power of attorney?
Well, excuse me, what is your connection with PJ Venture?
Director of Projects for PJ Venture.
I don't think that's, don't you usually bring in a power of attorney?
There's
John?
one sitting there.
Oh, this one is?
Is there? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're it. I thought it was
Fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
The addition that we're doing is to an existing building. The building itself doesn't change. The building is of the proper height and size for that addition. It is a floor that will just be added above an existing floor, as we did with the adjoining building, which houses Home Goods on the bottom and Marshalls on the second floor. So the site itself, the building shape and size doesn't change. The parking areas don't change. Just that second floor will be added above an existing space.
You're doing over the Guitar Center, is that it?
Say that again?
Over the Guitar Center?
Over the Guitar Center and Sleepy's, yes.
And what is it for? What kind of a business?
Joann's, it's a fabric type store, sewing utensils and stuff like that.
This is the structure we gave the approval for a few years ago for that side
Say that once
staircase?
again?
Is this the same structure where that side
No.
staircase went a few years ago?
No.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
The
Oh, the
adjacent
adjacent
building. The staircase is, the staircase is. in
Oh, the staircase and escalator on the Home Goods Marshalls building was added to the outside.
Mhm.
This one will be added internally,
Okay.
which will take up some of the first floor space, which will reduce the first floor space for an escalator, service elevator in the back and stuff like that.
Okay,
It'll-
I wasn't sure if it was the same structure or not. I just wasn't sure if it was the same structure.
Same structure, basically, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have anything, Peter, you wanted to say?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Okay. Okay. What does he need? All right, is there anyone here that'd like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Really move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. What do you need to give me? Oh, we didn't check the affidavits?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have everything there? Okay. It's 45 more here? I guess maybe, yeah. All right. Next case is case 1-16687, rehearing. 45 Mall Realtor LLC, 45 Mall Drive, Suite 5. Anybody here? Or did they leave? Okay. Why don't I go to the next case and then see what happens? Okay. All right. Next case is case 2-16203, reopening Viper Inc., 150 Terry Road, Smithtown location, northwest corner of Carolyn Avenue and Terry Road, Smithtown. Property zone NB. Request to modify the decision of a board dated 7/13/10, variance to reduce required front yard on Carolyn Avenue from 50 feet to 37 feet existing, reduce the front yard on Terry Road from 50 feet to 29 feet existing portico, decrease the driveway width from 20 feet to 15. No, you cannot. Yep.
He's coming.
Okay.
He's in traffic. He says he should be around 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. Well, do you want to hold my packet?
When he comes.
Oh, when he comes,
Yeah.
Here's Anthony Gardino. Anthony.
Here's Anthony.
Good time.
Okay. We'll go back to your case.
My client's not even here, but we can go forward.
You wanted me to call another case first?
If you have one before me, he said he'll be here in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Because our meeting was 5 hours last time. All right. Next case is case 16720, FMF Properties LLC. James Fox. Location, east side of Gary McHammond Court, north of Berg Avenue, Kings Park. Property zone R10. Request variance to increase the maximum front yard paving from 25% to 43%. Increase the max driveway grade from 8% to 10%.
James Fox, 152 Highland Drive, Kings Park, New York. I'm the owner and the builder on that particular house there in that project.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you want to tell us why you're here?
I'm here to look for a variance for an increased percentage of the driveway in relationship to the property and a slope of the driveway on that lot. I've done it on previous lots there in that particular subdivision. The lots are very narrow, and I put a two-car driveway in front of a two-car garage. I also narrowed that driveway down to 18 feet in the middle, so I'm trying to get less than that particular percentage. So we'll possibly be up to the 43%. I think it will be less. I'm not versed with the 5 questions you'd like to answer, you'd like me to answer, but I'd certainly like to tell the board that I didn't create it. I don't think it'll impact on anything. And
there's any other concerns, I'd like to answer your questions.
Okay. Planning?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Gentlemen? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Are you okay with this? Yeah, okay. Right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really move a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, let's go back then. I don't know why this gentleman is here. I guess, do we hear his case? I don't know what he's here for. Yeah, we'll go. Okay, next case is case 1-16687, rehearing 45 Mall Realtor LLC, 45 Mall Drive, Suite 5, Comac. Location, north side of Mall Drive, west of Moreland Road, Comac Properties Zone LI. Request special exception to maintain a daycare center, reduce required parking spaces from 330 to 288 spaces for existing 91,500 square foot, one floor building.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Anthony Guardino. I'm a partner with the law firm of Farrell Fritz in Uniondale, New York. I apologize, I'm a little bit late. Thank you for accommodating me. As you mentioned, this is an application by 45 Mall Realty. I represent Mall Realty with regard to this, with regard to the application for the special use permit to maintain a daycare center, and also now for a parking variance. As was mentioned earlier, this is an application that's, I guess it's being couched as a rehearing. We're viewing it as an amendment to a prior application that this board heard on May 8th of 2012, and at that time the hearing was closed, pending some information that it was actually a secret determination that was required, because at that time there was a site plan that was going to be required in connection with this application as a result of certain site improvements that were going to be made. My client has since amended the application to remove the site improvements, and as a result of doing that, eliminated really all of the variances that were required, except in doing so, now requires a new variance, and that variance is the parking variance. So it's a 42-car parking variance. 330 spaces are required, 288 are provided. And then the other form of relief, again, is the application for a special exception for the adult daycare center that is currently on the property. What I'd like to ask the board is that rather than go through the whole application again, because the board heard all of the evidence, and I submitted booklets of information. There was testimony from the architect. There was testimony from the engineer at the time. Neither of them are with me tonight, but I would ask that the board incorporate into this record today all of the prior evidence, testimony, and other information that was submitted as part of the application, and that way I don't have to go through the presentation. And what I'll do is I'm going to focus then exclusively on the parking variance, because that's the one form of relief that is new to this application. So even the special exception criteria, I think I addressed. I addressed it again in the amended application. There's a written, the criteria are addressed in written form, so you should have that. So what I'd like to do is just to touch on the parking variance and the 5 factors. As the board knows, this is balancing test, detriment to the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the neighboring properties. I don't believe that there is any detriment at all. I think the application weighs heavily in favor of granting this relief, because effectively what the applicant is seeking to do is maintain the status quo. What we're looking to do is maintain some office space that was converted illegally in the building years ago, about 6,000 square feet. And the daycare center is also existing in the building, and that was in fact permitted, but for some reason a permit was issued years ago, notwithstanding the fact that it required a special use permit, and that was not granted. So that is, I guess, the special use permit portion of this is kind of legal, the daycare center, because there was a permit issued. But in order to park the daycare center, the use of the daycare center and the warehouse space and the converted office space, there is the requirement that there be parking for 330 cars. We have the 288. We are looking to maintain that. So really what we're doing here is trying to maintain the status quo. So again, the use of the building is not changing, and so the variance will not have any adverse impact on the neighboring properties or the community. Also, because the parking variance is required in order to maintain the existing uses, there is no other feasible alternative. There's no other way to do this without a parking variance. They have to have a parking variance. I would submit that the 42-car parking variance is a relatively reasonably modest variance. I believe it represents between 12 and 13% of the total required parking. But I think more importantly, because these uses exist today, we know that the 288 parking spaces are sufficient because there's not a problem with parking on the site today, and all we're trying to do is maintain the status quo. So we know the 288 spaces is sufficient. And then finally, the requested parking variance will not have any adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions on the property or the surrounding area, again, because we're not changing anything. I will not get into the special permit. I will rest on the information that was provided previously, and also on the, I believe there was a memo submitted May 2nd by the on behalf of the planning director that addressed the special permit portion of this. And I have nothing further other than I do need to hand up the affidavits, which I forgot to do.
Okay.
Board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Planning?
For the record, we just would like to say that we support these variances. We feel this is a better approach than the original application with the setbacks and the possible clearing. This plan allows the existing vegetation to remain. We know the parking that's there now is underutilized, so we have no objection to the current request. We feel this is a better application.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You want to take a break? Let's see you. All right. There he is. Okay. What? I don't know. Want to hand up all your affidavits and everything? Okay, next case is case 2-16203, reopened Viper Inc. 150 Terry Road, Smithtown. Location, southwest corner of Carolyn Avenue and Terry Road, Smithtown. Property zone NB. Request to modify the decision of the board dated 7/13/10. Variance to reduce the required front yard on Carolyn Avenue from 50 feet to 37, existing. Reduce the front yard on Terry Road from 50 feet to 29, existing portico. Decrease the driveway width from 20 feet to 15. Okay. May I have your name, please?
Richard Daly.
And your address, Richard?
202 Campbell Avenue, Smithtown.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you want to tell us why you're here, please, or did you want this lady to speak for you?
No,
No.
I guess I could.
Go
It's
ahead.
my sister.
Oh,
I guess we'll take one at a time. The first one is the driveway apron. There's two big oak trees on each side of them, and when I was out there with the highway engineering department, we excited, we both thought we should just leave those trees and make the apron a little bit smaller. And I'm sure the board went by and saw the big trees, and we took a lot of trees down, and we wanted to keep some trees up because of the neighbors. My front yard setback, my side yard setback. The side yard was, we moved it to engineering wanted a 10 feet instead of 5 feet because of the wall. That would have been a firewall and would have had been, I don't know, some sprinkler heads on that side of the building. That's why the 37.3 got moved from 37, we only moved it 5 more feet over. And the front was just a front portico, which we had originally when we moved the building. I don't know if the board, we picked up this building, we slid it down the block. So we just put the front portico back, and that's all I tried to do. With a 5-foot dedication. Right, that's the reason. If I didn't have to give that extra 5-foot dedication, I would be in requirements. And I think I got it all covered.
planning? Gentlemen? Steve, anything?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Is really moved in second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. That concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you so much.